I first heard about Machu Picchu, Pumapunku, Sacsayhuaman, the Serapeum, and many more ancient sites watching Ancient Aliens. There's quite a few more from Ancient Apocalypse as well. Without Ancient Apocalypse Series 2 in particular, I would remain enormously ignorant of the huge range of stunning indigenous sites all over the American continents. And I would know about even more had Graham Hancock been given permission to film it more. I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to people like Ben Van Kerkwijk. If I hadn't watched some of his podcast appearances, I would have so much less appreciation for ancient Egyptian stonecrafting and masonry skills than I do now. My trips to museums and my trip to Egypt have been so much richer for knowing more about the differences between limestone and granite, for example. I looked more closely at things I may have just walked past before, especially vases, statues and sarcophagi. The statue I used for the profile picture of this channel, one of Tutmosis III that can be seen in the Luxor Museum, is just one example. That's a very short overview of my personal gratitude for alt history. On a wider scale, however, there is a bit more to say. I don't think anyone can really begrudge the teams of people scanning Egyptian hardstone vases, for example. It's hard not to be excited by the work being done by Karoli Poka, apologies for the butchering of the name pronunciation, and others. It's work unlikely to be done anywhere else, and as I said earlier, it will absolutely make people appreciate artifacts they'd otherwise perhaps ignore in a museum exhibit. No matter the outcome of the scans, I think we will all come away with a greater appreciation for Egyptian stonecraft, and that's a good thing. An additional area of value for me is that the kinds of questions asked by alt history proponents and researchers forces academics and others to perhaps look more closely at certain things, or bring up past research that previously would have been forgotten. In my case at least, following up on arguments made by proponents of alt history has led me to all kinds of other people who don't espouse such views, such as Dr. David Miano, Minnie Minuteman, Metatron, Scientists Against Myths, Sacred Geometry Decoded, Stefan Milo, and others. In the process I've learned so much, and it so happens I find the more quote-unquote mainstream view to be more persuasive. For me, pseudo-archaeology, quote-unquote, was my gateway drug to real archaeology, quote-unquote, though I still dabble in the pseudo side because it's interesting, thought-provoking, and there's always that part of me that would just love it if it was true. Also, while the tourism industry would exist and still be fine without the popularity of alt history, I've no doubt it helped drive more people to see amazing sites for themselves, and in the process led them to explore countries they would not have gone to otherwise. Awareness is good for historical sites and helps support archaeology. If there's money to be made excavating sites and making them available for tourists to see, the more likely it is that archaeologists will get permission over multiple seasons to dig. We also can't forget the museum visits that perhaps some of these ideas help generate. That's more or less everything. I thought it was important to make this brief point. My opinions may lean more towards the mainstream view of archaeology and history, but a big part of my enjoyment around learning about both sides of this has come from engaging with art history. I can't be the only one, and I have to give credit where it's due.